Oh hey, they fixed the logo this time. As you remember, I reviewed Resident Evil 4 on its 20th anniversary. Since then, I've been on a massive Resident Evil kick. I dusted off 7 and 8, I played the weirdest looking Resident Evil game ever. Where the fuck am I? And I've just been fucking around in Resident Evil 4 Remake trying to 100% it. I almost never do this. The only other games I 100%ed was Astrobot and Mario Odyssey, I think. So I decided, fuck it, I should just review this soon since I've been playing it so much already. So, yeah. That's what we're doing now. Resident Evil 4. Again. One of the things we have nowadays are remakes around every corner. After all, why make a new game when you can just make an old good game again? Remakes are everywhere now, ranging from Dead Space, Last of Us, Silent Hill, Zelda, Metroid, and of course, Resident Evil. There have been 2 RE Engine remakes before this one, those being Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3. While RE2 Make was a near-perfect experience that modernizes the PS1 classic while still keeping the core aspects of survival horror intact, it's not really a hot take to say that Resident Evil 3 Remake left a lot to be desired. So when Capcom revealed plans to remake Resident Evil 4 next, fans were really conflicted. Not to mention Resident Evil 4 was already fine as it is, and it's not exactly inaccessible. So why a remake? What could they possibly add to the table? Yeah, this game is better in every way. I meant it when I said in the last video, this is one of my favorite games of all time. Everything about it is just so satisfying. I don't want to wait any longer, so without further ado, here's Resident Evil 4 Remake. Unlike the original, this game opens up with a disturbing scene of Los Illuminados performing a human sacrifice. I love small openings like this that establish the main threat immediately. It's like RE2R's truck scene. Afterward, we get Leon's monologue. Instead of him explaining what happened to Umbrella, he talks about his regret about not being able to save anyone that night and how deadly his government training was. You can tell one of the things that was improved here is the narrative. The original story was fine, I guess, but here the characters are more nuanced. Leon is still a corny goofball who cracks jokes, but now his motivation for going on this mission is directly related to the trauma he suffered on that fateful night in 1998. I love how they show off some Resident Evil 2 remake footage, making this feel like a direct sequel. I also gotta hand it to the actors. The RE Engine titles have had some crazy good acting, and this one is no exception. Nick Apostolides did great as the bright-eyed puppy in 2, and he's killing it as that same Leon after 6 years of trauma and harsh training.
The training, punishing missions, nearly killed me. But at least I kept my mind off everything. If I could just forget what happened that night, the pain, even for a second. This time, it can be different. It has to.
I'll say my thoughts on each character's portrayal as we run along, but yeah, Leon is done amazingly in this game. And if that wasn't enough, he's also way sexier in this game. Like, look at him. I just wish he could roundhouse kick me in the face or something. Just like the original, after a chill ride in the van accompanied with Spanish guitar music, Leon starts his rescue mission in the middle of the woods. Now, as for this remake's art direction, I'm a little split. On one hand, this is the most gorgeous game I've ever played. Each area is so full of life and detail. And the village area along with the foggy woods are certainly great and still have a mysterious vibe to some extent, just like the OG, but I gotta say, I miss the aggressively brown and washed out colors this game had. The remake does try to emulate it a little bit in the village, but it doesn't feel the same. I know this is less of a RE4 make problem and more of a gaming problem in general, but it's still a bummer. But anyway, let's talk about the controls. One thing setting this apart from the original is the removal of tank controls in favor of a smoother traversal system. I said the tank controls weren't a bad thing in the original, so I'm indifferent with the removal of them. Leon can also crouch and crawl around, and you can sneak up on enemies to perform stealth kills with your knife. Speaking of the knife, it's a lot more useful now thanks to the brand new parry system. And boy, let me tell you, this parry system is fucking awesome. It adds an entirely new element to the arcadic shooter gameplay, and almost any attack can be parried. Axes, knives, pitchforks, giant bioweapon claws. Yeah, this knife is fucking insane. To compensate for its newfound usefulness, the knife now has a durability meter, and you can't use it for anything until you repair it at the merchant or get a new knife. You can find other weaker knives out in your travels, like kitchen knives, but you're better off repairing any of the more durable ones. Also, before I move on, I just need to ramble about something real quick. Sadler must have given a Garador a Splatoon paint gun or something, because every interactable item is littered with this out of place yellow paint. I'm aware this is a very small issue, but I really do not like this ugly yellow disease. I get that it's a little needed because some gamers are fucking idiots and they'll whine at Capcom if they get stuck, but I know how to play a video game. If I see a crate, I will know to walk up to it and smash it if I want to reap the rewards laying inside. If I see a ladder, I will know I can walk up to it and climb it. You don't need to cover it with this. Not only does it treat me like a stupid idiot moron piss baby, but it just sticks out like a sore thumb and it messes with the immersion. Leave the yellow paint in assisted mode or have it in the accessibility settings or something, but standard and even hardcore and professional? Come on, Capcom. Anyway, after that yellow paint tangent, we do the village fight. You can now move while aiming, and in order to compensate, the enemies are faster and more frantic. You can still stun them and perform melee finishers after shooting their heads or parrying, and as usual, the guns are all very useful and fun. Except for the bolt thrower, it's kind of bad. I kept my same loadout from the original. The Punisher with laser sight, semi-auto rifle, riot gun, submachine gun, and plenty of grenades. Though if we're being honest, I found myself kinda preferring the Red 9 over the Punisher this time around. Enemy variety is still on point with the returning Ganado, Plagas, Wolves, which look very silly in this art style, Gigantes, chainsaw enemies, knights, Novistadors, regenerators, zealots, Garadors, and new to the remake are brutes, these half-man, half-pig monstrosities wielding giant sledgehammers. The fluid movement, frantic pace, and varied enemies make the combat even more fun. The village is also still a great intro to said combat with unique cutscenes for the Chainsaw Man, but afterwards, it's bingo time!
Where's everyone going? Bingo?
He definitely practices these dorky oh, nope, I did that joke in the last video. Now Hunnigan informs us to make it to the farm. A neat detail I like is that they refer to each other with code names now. Leon is Condor 1, Hunnigan is Roost, and Ashley is Baby Eagle. The most fitting nickname for a cutie such as herself. Something new added here is the addition of this giant windmill in the farm, which introduces us to the disarmable tripwire bombs. There's also the blue medallions, which I'll discuss later since they're a whole genre of side quests now. Now we make it to this old house and drop down to the lower levels to meet Luis. Unlike his original counterpart, Luis is a well-written, nuanced character, and he has a large part in the narrative, even after he dies. He actually might be the best character in the whole game now. I also really like his voice. It's just so full of energy.
That hurts, you know?
It seemed like you really wanted to talk.
How observant, senor. Now, say, you got a smoke?
You know, those things will kill you.
Oh, well, maybe just untie me then, huh?
Lots of his backstory is shown in files, but the stuff the game flat out shows us is interesting enough. His introduction definitely sets up who he is perfectly. It shows he's someone with a lot of humor, heart, and mystery. Mendez then knocks Leon out, immediately injecting him with the Las Plagas parasite before strapping him and Luis to a chair in the abandoned factory. Luis tells us nothing about himself, only he's heard rumors that they took Ashley to the church. After a smart escape by Leon, Luis disappears, but he's nice enough to leave us the cuff key.
Hey, we're not done here! Later, amigo.
I already mentioned the parry, but here's where we're properly taught how to do it, since the bad guys actually confiscated our stuff while we were unconscious. And a short walk through the factory gives us a couple kitchen knives to learn how to parry and stealth take out. After getting our gear back, we're reintroduced to the merchant.
Over here, stranger.
I thought the original merchant was pretty funny, but the remake merchant is infinitely better. I like how every merchant spot is decorated with supplies. He really only stands out in the open in the original. He also has a bunch of new voice lines, so he's got a lot more personality. I seriously love this guy.
Bigger is better, as they say. At least I thought so when I was a lad. Where you gonna put this? Your pocket? Ooh, you have the stench of battle on you, mate. Having a rough day, stranger.
Shop-wise, it's basically the same. You can upgrade and buy weapons, repair knives, and sell valuables. Something new added to this game is the ability to craft ammo or grenades. As such, you can find gunpowder and little bags of scrap metal to craft resources, and you can buy new recipes from the merchant. I like how they handle weapon upgrading here. When I played Resident Evil 8, I noticed that some guns quickly became useless once I found a replacement, so if you were planning to take that shotgun you were upgrading and polishing all the way to Mother Miranda, you're stupid! Thankfully though, Resident Evil 4 Remake doesn't have this problem, and each gun has its ups and downs. I prefer the riot gun personally, but if I wanted to keep the shotgun, I'm not really sticking to the weaker alternative, so to speak. As for the valuables, there's a lot more treasures to find in the overworld, and you can put some gems into certain treasures to multiply the price. Real quick, something I like here is that there's no delay when you pick up an item. It improves the pacing by a ton. The original stopped you every single time you got an item, but really they only stop you once it's the first time getting a new item in the remake. If you want to look for all the treasures, you need to complete quests ranging from blue medallions, mini bosses, rat extermination, grave vandalization, throwing a egg at the picture of Salazar. Requests grant you spinels, and you trade them for exclusive items like treasure maps. I like the new shop system. It's in the spirit of the OGs, and it's still very rewarding. There's also other collectibles like the clockwork Salazars found in each chapter, and destroying all of them gets you the primal knife, which has infinite durability once fully upgraded, and it's very useful for second playthroughs. Speaking of, this game is replayable as hell. A majority of it is exploring and searching every nook and cranny, and it takes about 12 hours, but once you know the answer to every puzzle and you stop dilly-dallying, you can easily beat it under 5. You get rewarded completion points, which shouldn't have been shortened to that acronym, for each challenge completed. Some of these require multiple playthroughs, like a no merchant run, a knife and pistol only run, a no healing run. Yeah, these are the main reason why I put so many hours into this game. It's just so well designed that you can play it at your own pace with no issue, and you can spend your CPs in the extra content shop, which you can use to buy costumes, 3D models, and my personal favorite, the concept art, which is just so beautiful. Anyway, now we make it to the valley, taking out some enemies thanks to the newly acquired rifle. After more puzzles and exploration, we go into Mendez's manor where we take the insignia key, and Mendez says Leon's blood has accepted the gift. Then Ada saves us and we're free to continue the journey. When I reviewed the original, I said they split this cutscene in half in an odd way. Then we continue to the church where Ashley is being held. Big Cheese briefly comes back and we get saved by Ada Wong. That's pretty weird. It would make a lot more sense just to have all this happen in one cutscene with the Hunnigan talk after Ada saves us, which is something the remake fixed. But it came to my attention that Ada's appearance was a secret cutscene I unknowingly activated. I thought it was just part of the main story that was cut in a weird way, so sorry about that. Shoutouts to Badass Macmillan for correcting me. Oh, and while I'm at it, shoutouts to Frozone, yeah. Not for any particular reason other than being the top commenter. You rock. But back on track here, it's still neat that they put the secret cutscene in the main story. Afterward, Hunnigan digs up info on Luis, revealing he's an ex-Umbrella Corporation researcher, making Leon very distrusting. Remember when I said the stuff they flat out tell you is interesting enough? Well, here's one of them. Luis is now an ex-Umbrella employee, making him directly tied to the Raccoon City incident. You can still free the dog from the bear trap, which is moved up to chapter 3 instead of 1. Well, I'm glad they kept the dog. It was pretty cruel to give us that fake out at the beginning. Don't scare me like that. But now we make it to the church, find out it's locked, so we need to go to the fish farm to get boat fuel. Now I'm gonna shoot the lake again because I did the exact same thing in the last video. It's not as effective if it's just a cutscene. I heard you got a special achievement for shooting a lake a few times, so let's see what The Del Lago fight is exactly the same. You throw harpoons at it, steer the boat, that's that. It's still just whatever to me. I don't really care. They don't even have any QuickTime events in the game to keep you on your toes. It's pretty lame, honestly. But, well, I think this fight is pretty mid. They make this the semi-tutorial for the boat, which you can use to freely explore the lake afterward. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves. Another thing I like is the soundtrack, and strangely enough, it's really good. I neglected to talk about the soundtrack in the original since it wasn't really known for the music, but here each area has bangers that fit the context and overall are just great to listen to. The village fight is satisfyingly chaotic. I like how distinctly grungy and dangerous it feels. And Del Lago's theme is pretty much just a remix of the original, but Capcom just said, hey, remember Batman Forever? Leon passes out again, and now we're free to explore the lake and search for the key to the church. The means of doing that is much better than the waterfall puzzle in my opinion. The 2 statue heads placed on an altar to unlock the cult emblem is infinitely more interesting, and it just makes more sense. I also like how blood pours out of the statues once you decapitate them. That's a neat detail. But before progressing the story further, let's explore for a bit. There's plenty of things to do around the lake, and boating around feels really nice. Though I can't help but feel that this is oddly familiar. Hey, check it out! A barrel! I wonder. This is just God of War! Now, remember the old shooting gallery? It was alright. It was a little simple, but whatever. You earned the bottle caps for it. Yeah. Anyway. Ooh, a shiny elevator. Remember when I said they improved the merchant? Well, this area definitely gives him even more personality, with him on the PA system cheering us on. The poster, the music, the whole pirate aesthetic is really cool. Maybe the merchant was a pirate a long time ago. But let's play some target practice now. It's pretty much the same shebang where you have to shoot pirates and avoid sailors, and they have little skull emblems that serve as bonuses. The music is pretty much just a drum beat like the original. What do you mean I have to shoot the dynamite for the good part? What the fuck? This is awesome! So the reward for this minigame is gold and silver tokens, and using them at the price machine grants you keychains you can put on your case to help you get a little more luck. I also like how they're models of the original Resident Evil 4. That's really cute. Speaking of your case, you can change cases to increase the drop rate of certain materials like large resources or handgun ammo, which is done at the typewriter, along with storing unneeded weapons. I'll tell you what though, a weapon I definitely need now is the rifle because I got something really funny to show you guys. But first, let's fight El Gigante. I couldn't find proof of its backstory in the original, but here we can find a secret sealed off area detailing the growth of the child who bonded with the parasite, as well as in the village church area. But anyway, this boss is basically the same. Use the shotgun for maximum efficiency, dodge attacks, and the dog assists you if you freed him earlier. Except here he has more of his own moment where he tricks the beast into bumping into the wall, giving you an extra opportunity to get more hits in. You can hop on to slash the parasite with your knife as usual, or you can just skip that and shoot it with the rifle if you have the power fully upgraded.
That was almost a pancake.
Now we finally unlock the church and meet Ashley, who isn't just better visually, but narratively too. She isn't an annoying little shit anymore. Here, she's pretty much just a normal girl who's put in this unfortunate situation, so she trusts Leon with her life. Later on in the story, she learns to be more capable, and her and Leon really do feel like a team now. The narrative is reworked a little bit during the castle and island to benefit Ashley's presence in the story, and I really like it. Her and Leon also actually have proper chemistry now. I really like hearing these two exchange dialogue. Genevieve Buchner does a great job as Ashley, considering this is her only voice acting role. I really wish I sounded like her. Voice training be damned.
Leon, what are you doing?
Don't even think about trying this yourself.
Me? As if. Leon, are you kidding me? Jumping swing across chandeliers. Seriously, who does that?
What are you, my mother?
Gameplay wise, you can still command Ashley to operate levers and hide in lockers during a couple combat segments, but handling her is a little tweaked. Instead of telling her to stop dead in her tracks or follow you around, they introduce loose and tight formations. Loose formation is best used if you stay to deal with your foes, and tight formation has Ashley follow close behind you, best used for evading enemies. I like how Leon and Ashley's voice lines for loose and tight formation commands change depending on if there's enemies nearby or not.
Stick close!
Got it.
Stick close.
Okay.
Stay back!
Got it.
Okay, you're good.
Okay.
Ashley doesn't have her own health bar, but she can get knocked down by enemies and you have to make sure she's okay before continuing. And as usual, if she's kidnapped or killed, the game is over. She also gets impressed when you pull off cool shots and she sits at the barrel in the target practice lounge while she cheers you on. It's so perfect. She's so adorable. Oh fuck, did Ashley sit here? After the two hotties meet, they get a freaky vision of Sadler before escaping the church. Sadler doesn't have as much screen time in the remake, but he does have a looming presence thanks to these Plaga-induced visions. On our way to the extraction point, the weather gets worse and the game seals off any pathway that diverges from our mission, so if you want to go for every treasure, make sure you do it before going to the church. Except for one in the village and Mendez's attic, where we find more flavor text on Luis's backstory revealing his mom died when he was young and he grew up in the village with his grandfather. Once his grandpa became possessed by the parasite, Mendez put him out of his misery by burning his house to the ground as young Luis watched in terror. Luis was also obsessed with the Spanish novel Don Quixote, which is very integral to his character, which we'll see later. Speaking of Luis, it's cabin fight time! Again. Once again, an endless horde gangs up on us. Luis invites us into the cabin. The scene actually has good writing now.
Hey, listen, about earlier.
Yeah, about that.
Hey, I see you found your missing señorita.
Señorita has a name and it's Ashley. You are?
Name's Luis. Encantado.
Great. We all have names. Now then.
Ashley hides, it's game time. This is still one of the best parts of the game, endlessly taking down enemies with everything you have, barricading windows, having a blast with our best buddy Luis, and he's a lot more likable now. While he helps you kill these angry Spanish people, his quips are so full of energy, and while you can't push him to shoot you, he still gets really annoyed if you try to harm him.
What the hell are you doing?
I didn't get to talk about it yet, but I love how the Ganado are portrayed in this game. Not just because they fix their accents, but also they really do feel like a mindless army of meat puppets being controlled by a disgusting alien parasite. You can see this in chapter 1, where in the original, this guy just calls Leon a motherfucker.
¿Qué carajo estás haciendo aquí? Lárgate, cabrón!
But in Remake, he mindlessly wanders around before trying to hack him into pieces. And back to the cabin fight, the reason why I said the Ganado leaving you alone in the end was lame was because they do not stop in the Remake. Every single one of these people are willing to give their lives for the Illuminado's cause, and it ends with Ashley finding an escape route. If it weren't for Leon and Luis escaping, they probably would have ran out of ammo, canonically speaking, and I'd be a fool to not mention the incredible music playing in the background. It perfectly amplifies the feeling of danger and desperation this scene deserves. Once that's done, Luis is the one to tell them they've got tapeworms, with the symptoms being coughing up blood and the ability to do that. Luis offers to help them remove it with a surgical procedure if they trust him. Once we split up, we get this scene with Luis and Ada. Now that we've properly met her, I can finally talk about her portrayal. To put it bluntly, she kinda sucks. Her face is still pretty. I mean, that's already a given. She's Ada fucking Long after all. I'm just talking about a couple of other things. For one, her outfit. It definitely makes a lot more sense than the red dress, but the red dress was pretty iconic. I think a balance between the two would have been cool, but what do I know? Another thing I don't like is her characterization. She just seems so disinterested in her work. Original Ada was a little feisty. She felt like she kinda enjoyed working for bioterrorism groups, retrieving samples and sneaking around. But here, it just feels like the usual 9 to 5 for her. It doesn't help that her voice actor, Lily Gal... well, she isn't doing a very good job. She's more so reading the lines out loud as opposed to actually performing them.
Leave the girl. She's lost no matter what. You walk away now, and who knows? Maybe you'll live to meet me again.
Anyway, the main takeaway from this scene is that Luis is in cahoots with Ada, agreeing to retrieve the Plagas sample in exchange for some extra protection. It's also interesting to note that this time around Las Plagas was preserved in amber, Jurassic Park style. Luis also says he needs to get the suppressant to help his new partners. Thanks to his new backstory with his tragic youth and his time with Umbrella, he's now trying to change as a person and repent for his past mistakes, but he can't help but make the same dumb mistakes by partnering up with Ada and Wesker. He's only human after all. Back to Leon and Ashley, we continue on our way to the castle. From here on out, the rest of the treasures are pretty much laid out in a more linear fashion, so I can just grab them as I go along. This part is somewhat different from the original despite being basically the same area. You still fight the chainsaw wielding maidens and stuff Ashley in a locker like a nerd. But the most important thing that sticks out here is that this cutscene has the most unnecessary backflip ever. He could have just walked backwards. He didn't need to do that.
I am flattered, but I'm a one-lady type of guy.
I'm convinced people who complain that Leon isn't as funny in the remake are just dumb. New to the remake is this Mendez chase scene. The way he slowly walks towards you definitely gives me Mr. X vibes. You just run past the ganado here. Again, tight formation is ideal for that. And after we lose Mendez, Leon affirms that no matter what happens, he will get Ashley home safe.
Listen, you're the one he wants. If we see him again, you run.
What about you?
I'll do my job.
Now up next is the Mendez boss fight to end the village section, but before that, let's talk a little bit about him. There's not that much to him in the remake, he's basically a cinder block. However, his new backstory is really cool, and it kinda adds a new layer to his character. Remember when we went to his manor with Ashley and we read up a little more on Luis? Other attic files talk about how he genuinely cared for the villagers, making sure they prospered, making sure their voices were heard, providing for them. Mendez burning down the house shows that at one point he wanted to prevent the spread of Las Plagas, which by the way was his fault for trusting Sadler. And the Plaga distorted this man to the point he's not the same person anymore. He was brainwashed and mutilated by the Plaga, turning him into this thing. And I think that's really neat. Okay, time to kill him.
Hasta luego.
Like the original, we fight him in a burning building while he showcases the evil that lurks under that trench coat. They add a lot more to make this fight more engaging, like parry attacks and even a second phase. Mendez is definitely one of my favorite bosses. Of course, Leon's trash talk is always nice to hear.
Guess your tap dancing days are over.
And again, the music is my favorite part in this scene. I mentioned the original's eerie sounding track, but this one makes it feel a lot more cinematic and bombastic. It's just so good. And that goes for phase 1 and phase 2. And with that, we're done with the village area. And I got all the treasures too. Let's hope we can keep this up in the next area with a whopping 41 valuables. In the castle, Luis tells us to meet in 2 separate locations, but he doesn't show up for either, making him all the more untrustworthy in Leon's eyes. Do you guys remember Ramon Salazar? That small little aristocratic shit stain who was the bad guy in the castle area? Remember his stupid little hat? He was very silly. And we're gonna see him reimagined now. I'm just shaking in my platform boots in anticipation.
Such a pleasure to finally make your acquaintance, Mr. Kennedy.
Oh god. Okay, look, Salazar isn't terrible here. Obviously, he's done a lot better in the original. Here, he still looks grotesque. He's still pretty silly. As toned down as he is in compared to the original, I actually think his voice actor is doing a pretty good job, so shout outs to Marcio Moreno. Everything from his demeanor to his sense of fashion is still on point. I just wish he was sillier. Yeah, I don't really have a strong criticism for Salazar, I just wish he was funnier. And I wish they kept some more of the banter from the original. And his hat. Moving on, our first Garrador encounter is still within a dungeon, and Jesus Christ, they really beefed them up in the remake. I also like how Leon and Ashley just refer to the Garrador as an animal.
Was this the animal?
No, you can't keep him.
Yeah, that's Too bad.
The puzzles are also very much improved in this area. I like this simple little sword puzzle, and the dining room one now has you examining paintings to ring bells on the seats pictured. I also like the lithograph stone puzzle after we meet Ada. And I like how there's still a chimera, but completing the statue makes a cage drop from the ceiling, letting Leon get captured since the cage is meant to imprison the chimera, which then leads us to the Ashley level. It all just feels a little more natural now, but we're getting too ahead of ourselves again. Salazar's first gift to us is the water room, which still has you go up against a buttload of zealots and operate a wheel crank to get from point A to point B, and you still need to protect Ashley while she operates the 2 cranks at the end before moving on to the garden. I think the original just had the water room be full of, well, water, but here it's this weird black substance. They don't outright say what it is, but my guess is that it's basically steroids for the Plaga, which is why they force feed it to Ashley later and why some bosses can shoot it out. I heard some people theorize they rewrote Las Plagas to be connected to Resident Evil 7 and 8's black mold, and I don't really like that theory. I don't know if it's plausible or not, but it sure is unnecessary. Prior to the water room, Ashley keeps coughing like crazy, and we see that the Plaga is starting to grow stronger, controlling her to try and stab Leon before running off into the greenery, which again makes a lot more sense than whatever the fuck she did in the original. Next up is Leon's reunion with Ada Wong. Now Leon knows exactly who she is, and he has no idea Wesker hired her, and I think these were all for the better. It just makes sense for Leon to immediately recognize her. She was super important in Resident Evil 2 after all, and I like that Wesker's super evil plan isn't as alluded to now, which makes Ada's intentions seem all the more mysterious. I also love how this fight is animated. Leon did not forgive her for manipulating him. He was 100% ready to stab her ass. Now, in my original review, here's where I talked about Separate Ways, the extra campaign starring the bitch in the red dress herself, but in the remake, it's a fully fledged B scenario DLC, and this video is getting pretty long on its own, so I might make a separate get it? I might make a separate video on it if you guys want. Maybe. Probably. Don't count on it. Anyway, I talked before how I think the catapult level is fucking stupid, and here we have something in the same ballpark, but done much better in my opinion. An armored Gigante rears its ugly butt to throw a handful of debris at you, and this level is full of spectacle. The main reason I like it is that the pattern is a little more easier to decipher, while the catapults are a little more random. You go through a pretty linear path, fighting enemies along the way, and of course chasing that bag. And like the catapult section, we solve our problem with a cannon to advance forward.
I've had my fill of you guys.
Afterwards, we finally reunite with Ashley, who is thankfully back to normal. In my opinion, this is my second favorite scene in the game. Of course, Ashley is understandably terrified by all this, but Leon tells her to hang in there, to keep moving forward. This helps Ashley's character arc of being a little more independent, and Leon's it has to be different mindset is ever present here. And of course, the acting is really good.
It's okay to be afraid, you know. But you can't run. You gotta keep moving forward. We will beat this. Together.
I don't know if I can.
You can. Just give me a heads up before you stab me next time, okay?
Leon, thanks.
As mentioned before, Luis fails to show up where he said he'd be, so we try again going to the ballroom. Just like the original, we have to go through a maze to unlock the door forward, and it's still pretty easy to deal with the wolves and navigate through the hedges. I'll tell you what though, while this courtyard is designed like a maze, so is the whole damn castle. You'll find yourself backtracking a fair amount if you're treasure hunting. After going inside the ballroom, we find a small key we can use to unlock the drawer in the Ada room. See this locked drawer? We don't get the small key for it until chapter 12, but it's a good thing we have a little shortcut to it. And when we were separated from Ashley, there's a locked door which required giving her a boost to unlock it. And in this room, we get a little history on the Salazar bloodline about how each of them added a little something to this castle. How it started as just a way to seal Las Plagas away before it gained more and more elaborate traps and rooms with each generation, and how some of them even showed off their aristocratic taste by building a ballroom. They even allude to the fact that Sadler possibly killed Ramon's father, and that Ramon Salazar himself is a piece of shit who should have died at birth. Jesus Christ. least. Anyway, back on track here, the ballroom. Like I mentioned before, you must solve 3 cool puzzles to complete the Chimera statue. They introduced some cool new stuff like how some Plagas freeze up when they come in contact with blue light. And I forgot to mention this earlier, but the red zealots are vastly improved too, since they now wield red lanterns which make the Plagas burst out instantly, and you can see Leon have a headache since he's infected too. 10 out of 10 detail. But who needs these zealots ruining our time? Nothing a little flash grenade can't fix.
Ho-ho! You cut through the crowd with that right there.
And while all of this is happening, a remix of the Infiltration track plays, and despite being different, I actually kinda like it. It's a lot more atmospheric, and it definitely fits when we're investigating the ballroom. Though Separate Ways does have a more accurate remix, and this one is great too. As mentioned before, completing the Chimera makes a cage drop from the ceiling, imprisoning Leon, which then leads to the Ashley library section. I kinda just glossed over Ashley's section in the original since it was such a nothing burger, but I actually think her section in the remake is really good. We get to feel what she's feeling, and she is terrified. Unlike Leon, she has 0 combat training, only equipped with a blue lantern to petrify the knights and instantly dying if they hit you with their sword. Ashley even has some cool puzzles to do, like looking for a file to reveal the grandfather clock solution, which I didn't need to do since I've played this game 5 times. I know it's 11:04. And finding the Salazar family crest, which is acquired after sacrificing your lantern, which means Ashley's section caps off with a cool chase scene. This poor girl. Once Ashley tosses the key to free Leon, she gets captured by Salazar's bodyguard. Now it's time to play as Leon again, and Ada informs us to head to the throne room. But first, we can go back to the library to get treasures we couldn't get as Ashley, as well as fighting a knight on steroids and killing a few rats along the way.
Rats along the way.
Shut up, we're not at that part yet. Alright, now let's see if I have the... Oh, fuck. I guess I have to play the whole chapter all over again. Next is the Novistador room, and I still think these things are pretty annoying. It's not like they're hard to deal with, they're just kind of a pain in the ass. Look, this one's trying to hide from me. That's cute. Skipping ahead a little bit, Salazar force feeds Ashley the black water, speeding up the Plaga growth process, and he sends us down to the sewers. We still make it to this industrial area, of course, and we fight the Verdugo, or Salazar's right hand. The biology is kept the same, that being a combination of human, insect, and Plaga DNA, but it's interesting to note that the remake points out that the Verdugo used to be Ramon's butler who willingly researched and mutated to serve his master. In the original, I only just waited for the elevator so I could leave, so are we gonna do the same here? No. I'm treasure hunting, and that bug has a fancy monocle I'm just dying to get my hands on.
Finally, some peace and quiet. My condolences to your master.
You know, I neglected to mention it until now, but I think the pacing is vastly improved in the remake. In the original, there's just sections where nothing really happens story-wise, most notably the mines. But here, they take the boring-ass mines from the original and turn it into a buddy cop movie starring Leon and Luis. After Leon makes it to the elevator, he gets another vision of Adam Sandler, and we get a glimpse of John Krauser. Hello. If you haven't seen the original video, I only referred to the character Jack Krauser from Capcom's Resident Evil 4 as John Krauser. This was not me being ignorant and calling him by the wrong name. This was an intentional reference to the John meme where fans of a series refer to a character as John Series. Forcing me to explain the joke does not make it funny. Anyway, we get a glimpse of Doug Bowser, and lo and behold, Luis is finally here with the parasite suppressant. Remember when I said Luis was obsessed with Don Quixote? That comes completely into play here.
Then come, Sancho Panza. Let us rescue the Princess Dulcinea.
You're gonna hurt yourself.
Hey, that was my lance. Okay, we hurry, I get it.
I'll get into that pretty soon, but for now, time is of the essence, and Leon confronts Luis about his previous employment.
A little hard for me to put my faith in someone who used to work for Umbrella.
So you heard, huh? Bella's done for. You don't need to worry about them anymore.
You didn't answer my question. What are you after?
I just want to feel good about myself. Make amends. Or something like that.
Besides the addition of Luis, the mines are fairly similar to the original. It's where Los Illuminados dug up the amber containing Las Plagas, and as such it's full of mining equipment, dynamite, and the dual Gigante fight, which is basically the same as the original. But Luis helps deliver the finishing blow, strengthening their bond. But the real showstopper of this area is the new and improved minecart set piece. If you saw the original review, you'll remember I said the minecart bit was an okay set piece, but nothing really unique. But here they reworked it to be a cool, fast-paced, on-rails shooter, literally on rails, where you shoot enemies, switch tracks, lean over to prevent the cart from tipping, and the chainsaw guy is back because of course he is, and I neglected to mention this bit of information in the village, but this man's name is Dr. Salvador. It's implied that every time you fight a chainsaw man, it's the same guy every time, healing himself after each encounter because he's the village doctor. This minecart set piece is the last place we'll see Dr. Salvador, so let's fucking kill him.
End of the line, asshole.
This level also has another one of my personal favorite music tracks. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but like the new village and cabin music, this song is just tense and fitting and I dig it. It's not as anxiety inducing as the village or chaotic as the cabin. It's a little bit quieter in some instances and it just fits the situation.
This it? Afraid not. Things are just getting started.
Was that, are we just going to ignore that? Don't mind me, just selling my treasures to the merchant in the middle of the Novistador hive room.
Thank you.
Don't ask why I'm repairing my knives. I'm gonna take a step back to discuss Luis. Over the course of the game, we did some detective work to piece together a picture of this man's life. We know he grew up in the village, living with his grandfather and obsessing over Don Quixote. When Mendez showed mercy by killing his grandfather, Luis ran away to start a new life in America. Luis's life is one of running away, making the same stupid mistakes over and over. That being working with the worst people. The Umbrella Corporation, Los Illuminados, Albert Wesker. Luis's infatuation with Don Quixote doesn't just show in files or him constantly referencing the novel during the mines, but it's also a direct parallel to his own life. The book is about a village idiot who goes on adventures believing he's a valiant knight when in reality he's an absolute menace to society. He's living a fantasy, which is pretty much what Luis has been doing. He thinks he can slip through anything, but then Luis gets a wake-up call.
You know it means we're almost...
Almost what?
In the original, Luis was a nothing character, and you quickly forget about him after he dies. But here, after all the backstory and nuance, this remake turned Luis into one of the best Resident Evil characters. Wait a minute, who threw that knife anyway?
Long time no see, rookie.
Ugh. Oh, that voice definitely doesn't fit him. But yeah, the legendary Jimbo Krispy Kreme Krauser is who kills Luis in the remake, and it's a great introduction. It immediately makes us want to take this guy down. I'll get more into Jimbo later, but for now, the biggest deviation from the original story is that Krauser and Leon are now mentor and apprentice instead of just peers. This ups the stakes a little bit, and it makes Krauser a lot more interesting. But after the cool knife parry boss, Luis uses the last of his strength to end the boss, and he gives us the key to his lab.
What do you think, Leon? People can change, right?
During our elevator ride back to the surface, Ada informs us Ashley is at the clock tower, so we gotta hurry. Yeah, who cares? It's treasure time! The last small key is next to the clock tower fairy, and now we can go all the way back to the audience chamber to unlock the final drawer. No more locked drawers, yippee! We only got a handful of trinkets left, so now let's make our way to Ramon's throne room. There's some cool files here, like one that reveals that the housekeeper mutated into it, and we can still sit on the throne as we're surrounded by cock. Wait, that came out wrong. Anyway, back to the clock tower. They brought back the stupid giant Salazar robot, but there's no hilarious QuickTime event chase scene. It's just here to sit around and breathe fire before we go to the elevator fight. Kinda disappointing, really. But if nothing else, BAM! Read it and weep, Ramon Salazar. I just collected every treasure in your castle. Good thing the next area is relatively easier. Now let's talk about Ramon Salazar. As much as I ragged on him earlier for not being as goofy anymore, I actually really like the changes made to his portrayal and backstory. We caught a glimpse of it back when we read his family history, but further files revealed the extent to his shittiness. Instead of being manipulated to release Las Plagas, he didn't need much convincing to revolt against his bloodline. Plus, a file in the basement reveals he enjoyed pouring acid on his servants' faces, making Salazar an irredeemable, hateable antagonist. Original Salazar was slightly more sympathetic, but remake Salazar is just an asshole. It's apparent when Leon directly attacks Salazar. In the original, he's on the verge of tears, and now he's pissed off. And of course, he mutates into a monster for the epic grand finale of the castle area. He already looked disgusting in his human form, but now he looks absolutely repulsive. He looks like an aborted fetus. Rather than being immobile, he's gliding across the arena, constantly vomiting acid and trying to one-hit kill us, all while projecting his insecurities onto Leon now that he's the tiny one. They even bring back some of the goofy dialogue, specifically the crappy script exchange.
You are nothing but my script, Mr. Kennedy. So don't get too carried away. You'll be just seeing this over.
Leave me out of your crappy script.
Well then, why don't you show me what a first-class script is like? Do your own actions.
And the music. Oh my god, the music. Let's do another comparison. Making Salazar's new theme song a waltz is such a no-brainer. This is by far my favorite song in the entire series. The dramatic waltz along with Salazar's grotesque yet graceful movements along with Leon moving around to avoid the acid makes this feel less like a boss fight and more like a dance or a stage play. I love it. And now it's time to put an end to this disgusting aristocratic psychopath. Like a lot of aforementioned segments, the island is really good. It's not as good as the village or castle aesthetic-wise, but it's still an interesting location. The treasures are fairly spaced out and in a linear trail, and there's like half as much as the castle's amount, but in order to get all of them, I'll need to pick them up as I go along. One thing I definitely don't like about the island is the combat music. It's just a boring, repetitive drum. To be fair, the original island combat theme was also just a drum beat, but at least it was funkier. Don't mind me, just looking for treasure. Now I should go to where Ashley is being held. I meant to do that. So Ashley is lying unconscious in a prison cell, so just like the original, we have to look for a key card and upgrade it to maximum clearance. Once in the dissection room, we're introduced to the regenerators. I actually really like the spooky build up to them with that little glimpse of the first one running past the doorway. They showed off the Plaga Araña like this too, but the fact that it's this uncanny white boogeyman is just so cool. While looking for the key card, we get a file detailing how regenerators function, mentioning their weakness, but I think it's hilarious how this dude basically went,
Those naysayers are fucking idiots. My creation will never escape confinement.
and then the next page is just, oops. Now, I know there's a request to exterminate more rats, and I think I heard one nearby. Dude, do you mind? So now we fully upgraded the keycard, entering the jail cell and giving Ashley the suppressant, waiting for her to awaken. Once she does, she thanks Leon, and we get this touching moment where they promise to push forward and remove the parasites so Luis's death wouldn't be in vain.
Come on. We don't have much time. Let's get rid of these things.
For Luis.
You know, I'm having a blast with this. I can't wait to talk about the rest of the series on here. That'd be really cool.
Pretty much a master of unlocking.
I really love how the Iron Maidens are handled in this game. Their new design has larger needles and their skin is all flaky and disgusting. It almost makes them look like they're made of rock. They also slither around on the floor like snakes, and once they die, their spikes explode in all directions, which is a nice touch. I also like this room in the sewers where you have to take care of one of these while also protecting Ashley. It's pretty intense. But once we're in this junkyard area, there's more blue medallions, so what was I saying? The only other noteworthy thing here is the new Wrecking Ball fight. Back in my original review, I said I didn't really think much of the bulldozer segment, but this new one where you have to protect Ashley while she tries to break the wall is, well, it's still not the best thing ever. But hey, at least it's still funny how she can just operate this shit. They even kind of jab at this beforehand.
Is this what they teach kids in school these days?
Have you never heard of driver's ed?
After some backtracking to complete a mini-boss, we finally meet up with the big bad Saddler for the first time in person, and it's kinda disappointing. Don't get me wrong, I love this scene, and I like Saddler's depiction. I just don't like the location. We met Mendez in the basement, which is fine since he's a minor antagonist. We met Salazar in the grand audience chamber of the castle. Sponge John Krau's pants just kinda dropped from the ceiling in the dark room where he killed Luis, and then we fight him. It's really cool, but the main villain, the guy who orchestrated everything, is met in a random amber storage room. Does that not seem a little underwhelming to anyone else? But that's just a small thing. The rest is fucking awesome. I love when Saddler controls Ashley's body to shoot Leon, but Ashley is strong enough to steer the gun away from Leon. What a badass. And Saddler himself, Jesus Christ, his new backstory is kind of insane. Saddler was nothing more than a mustache-twirling cartoon supervillain in the original, but now he's in charge of an evil world domination plot that's been in the works for 500 years. You can find gravestones scattered around the island, and they reveal that the Salazar family not only sealed Las Plagas in the depths of their castle, but they also banished the Saddlers to this very island way back in 1554. They survived thanks to Las Plagas providing for them, and now Saddler wants to spread this gift to the world and control every living thing on the planet. His new attitude is fittingly chilling and blasphemous, constantly spouting Catholic-y language for his evil bug cult. And even if this is the first time we see him in person, we already saw him in Spooky Visions, and his effect is felt in every inch of the game, so he's a very effective antagonist just begging to be taken down. I do think it's somewhat a shame they got rid of his goofiness. But he still works here, and he's pretty damn scary. Even if Ashley had enough willpower to resist Saddler's control for a moment, she unfortunately can't do anything as Saddler puppeteers her to come with him to his sanctuary, and Leon is determined to rescue her one last time. Back to our good friend Zach Plowser, he's prepared a battlefield to duke it out with Leon at the ruins. There's a campsite with a couple treasures to snatch and some pretty disturbing files. There's one detailing Ashley's abduction and a photo of Resident Evil 2 Leon with "I'm waiting" written in blood on it. After we make it to the ruins, Krauser is there waiting for us. I love how Leon straight up doesn't give a shit about what he's saying until Krauser appeals to Leon's insecurity of failure.
You always had poor judgment. But if you think I'm gonna let you out of here alive, you're even more naive than I thought. You can't save her. You can't save anyone. Give it up, Krauser.
Though I gotta say, this whole cutscene is pretty hilarious. The dialogue, the music, even Leon's stupid hand motion makes this feel like a cheesy, over-the-top soap opera. I think that might be on purpose, but it still comes off as super unserious. Now, as for Krauser himself, he still isn't in the game that much, but his impact is larger than ever. Of course, I already mentioned he's now Leon's former mentor, but I forgot to mention Operation Javier, a mission Leon and Krauser went to in South America against some dangerous bioweapons. It was a pretty important event for the two of them. For Leon, it strengthened his hatred for these things, but the government leaving the two of them to die convinced Krauser that accepting this power for himself was the only way to survive. As such, Krauser is now 100% a member of Los Illuminados instead of just a spy working with Ada like the original. All this makes him so much cooler, and that goes for the boss fight too. He seems to be the only antagonist who has some level of respect for Leon, knowing he can overcome this massive death trap. Krauser will occasionally show up to throw down, and it still uses the parry and dodge mechanic. Something new that he'll do is run into the wall. Yeah, I don't get it either. Of course, the gadgets are back, and you still have to fight him atop the tower as he mutates into his final form. You know, it's funny, because I wanted to play that song during this part in my original review, I somehow gaslit myself into thinking that Krauser's theme was Black Doom's theme from Shadow Generations, which is really weird because the music that actually plays is fucking awesome. Krauser's defeat also feels different than the others. Instead of writhing in pain and cursing us out, Krauser acknowledges Leon has come a long way since his rookie days, asking him to take his knife and finish the job.
That you did, Major. That you did.
I kind of glossed over this section in the original, but I kind of like it a little more here. Not by much though. A chopper shows up to aid us in combat, piloted by a new character, Mike. Don't get too attached to him. For what it's worth, they do a good job at making us like Mike before his demise. He sounds pretty energetic as he mows down Ganado like it's nothing, and we even help him out by taking out this massive gun. Instead of a rocket launcher sending Mike 6 feet under, Sadler sends a group of Novistadors to swarm the helicopter, causing Mike to die.
I'll make sure you're the next to go, Sadler.
Oh, not yet, Leon. You still need to do that last merchant request.
Stranger, I heard you took care of that last request. On behalf of my compatriots, I thank you, friend.
I'll make sure you escape from the island in one piece, merchant guy. Okay, now it's sanctuary time, and Ada shows up to make sure Leon and Ashley escape Sadler's clutches. This next scene is by far my favorite in the whole game, where Leon carries Ashley to Luis's lab to remove the parasites. I just love how they make such a big deal out of it now. Leon is at the brink of succumbing to the parasite, but he pushes through, limping his way to the lab as he starts to get more creepy visions. When we make it to this hallway, he sees a crowd of hooded figures. It's the Illuminado's hive mind. It's what he and Ashley would become a part of if they don't get rid of this thing immediately. I mentioned Luis's impact is still present even after he dies, and one of the things that helps is the fact that we have his key for the longest time, and now we finally get to use it.
This time, it has to be different.
Unlike the original, Leon doesn't test it out on himself, rather he makes Ashley go first. She is the priority after all. And after a painful yet brief radiation blast, Ashley is finally cured and Leon passes out. But when he wakes up, we see that Ashley operated the lasers to cure Leon. Her character arc of becoming more capable has come full circle, and Leon and Ashley's team dynamic is just so satisfying. I seriously love these two.
Hey, we're a team, right?
Keep this up, I'll be out of a job.
And there we have it, all 24 island treasures. It's pretty convenient that the last one is at the point of no return. The final boss takes place on the docks just like the original, but now it's way goofier. But for now, Sadler actually loses it for the first time in the whole game. He's been pretty calm even when Leon shoots him in the eye. But now that Leon is Plaga free, now that he rejected Sadler's gift and he's no longer under his control, it drives Sadler over the edge, turning him into a big spider. I still think this boss is just okay. It's still just shooting eyeballs. He also does this new move where he makes Leon do the Family Guy death pose. Okay, let's just skip ahead. This second phase is goofy as fuck. Sadler grows like 10 times in size, turning him into some eldritch abomination. Leon fucking flips around and says the goofiest line he's ever said.
Finally, a look that suits you, Sadler. A monster in and out. Still, I need to cut this date short. It's not me. It's you.
The rest of the game was actually pretty grounded. Well, as grounded as you can get with fighting giants and tofu monsters. But now we're back to this off-the-wall cartoon bullshit. And that's not even a bad thing. This is hilarious. And as per Resident Evil tradition, Ada tosses us a rocket launcher to deliver the final blow. Now she takes the amber to Wesker and gives us the jet ski key before bidding him adieu and striking a sexy pose.
I think we both know this. Where we go our separate ways.
Holy shit! I think I'm one of the few people who actually likes the escape theme. Obviously Resident Evil 2 had one that was infinitely better, but I don't know, I kinda like this one too. It has a hint of optimism now that we saved the world, but it still retains a level of urgency since we still have to make it out alive. I love that the enemies start to short circuit and wriggle around on the floor like fish now that their dominant Plaga is dead. And now we can jet ski on our way home. Just ignore the health bar. I wasn't really locked in while recording the footage. It's not like I'm bad at it. I have the achievement for not getting hit, but that's it, we're done, hooray! I can't get over how happy Leon looks in the ending. He finally saved someone, he persevered and he became a hero, and now the two of them are free to return to the States. Of course, the credits still show Sadler's influence on the village, but this time it's shown in photographs, which makes it slightly creepier, especially the picture of Salazar giving a speech as well as the miners discovering the ember. And while this plays out, an orchestration of the credit song from the original plays. After playing the original and coming back to the remake, I definitely appreciate this more now. It's just so soothing and oddly nostalgic since I only became a Resident Evil fan like a year ago. But afterwards, there's a post-credit scene that teases Wesker's evil plot for Resident Evil 5 MCU style. Ada actually has a change of heart and decides to not give him the amber, but spoilers, I checked separate ways and he uses Krauser's corpse for his plans anyway. Oops. But fuck that, the new credits theme is fucking awesome. Bullet or the Blade, performed by Sam Drysdale, is legitimately a banger.
Keep your eyes on the road ahead. Don't be drawn into the light or the shadows in your head. Keep your eyes on the road ahead and don't ever look back. Don't ever look back. Keep your eyes on the road ahead. Don't be drawn into the light or the shadows in your head. Keep your eyes on the road ahead and don't ever look back. Don't ever look back, 'cause
So yeah, that was Resident Evil 4 Remake. Overall, I'd say this sets the standard for what a remake should strive to be, much like Resident Evil 1 Remake way before it. It keeps the positives from the original: fun, addictive shooter gameplay, fun exploration, the treasures, the locations. It's all just so satisfying. Not only that, but they did pretty much everything in their power to improve everything. The performances are insanely good for everyone across the board, giving so much life to this iconic cast of characters. The narrative is full of great character moments and nuance, making this game feel like a genuine entry in the series rather than a weird filler episode. It's also a lot more polished with better movement, and the knife parry really does add a lot to the fun factor. Almost every song in the soundtrack is an absolute jam. I could go on, but you get the idea. This game is a masterpiece, an actual 10 out of 10. I mentioned before that I recommend trying out both versions, but if I absolutely had to pick one over the other, I'd go with the remake easily. It's a game about action, danger, adventure, serenity, perseverance, optimism, doing the right thing, and keeping your eyes on the road ahead. Well, that was the best game ever made, but now I'm tired. Time to take it easy and relax. Oh, so this is what the Sonic community's been up to while I was gone. That's cool. I should probably take a look at this next, huh?